everyone, and welcome to this episode of KillerCreation. In this series, I create a killer and a survivor for the asymmetrical horror survival game, Dead by Daylight. I'd like to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel and those who have followed me on the Dead by Daylight, horror, and furry aminos. Your comments and feedback help a lot, and allow me to better balance powers and perks. With that said, let's venture into the chilling backstory of the Frozen. Mao Shuang was a woman of rare beauty in ancient China. So lovely was she that several of the feudal lords vied for her affection. Her father, not wishing to offend any of the local lords, could not decide on whom to offer his daughter's hand in marriage to. Over time, scandalous rumors about the weakness of the lords grew. Doubts arose about their power and the way they had been somehow made to look like children fighting over a toy. Their anger pinnacled when they discovered that Mao Shuang had decided to marry a simple farmer instead of any of them. They secretly vowed revenge, but publicly announced their good wishes. To show that there was no bitter blood, the lords came together to throw a lavish wedding for Mao Shuang and her husband-to-be. The wedding was unlike any ever seen before, and the couple was toasted to and feasted with late into the night. When it was time for the couple to retire, most of the guests were drunk or were long since passed out. The lords set their plan into action, having their guards slaughter the guests, and then had Mao Shuang and her husband dragged into the deep snows outside. The pair were tied to posts and then left to scream into the cold winds until they froze to death. The next year, each of the lords met a beautiful woman and made plans to marry, but the night before their marriage, they were all found frozen to death outside. This was the bargain made by Mao Shuang. She would get her revenge. The entity would get her. Now that we know how the Frozen came into the realm of the entity, let's look into her base stats, then her power. The Frozen has a 4.4 meters per second base speed and a 24 meter terror radius. She is a small killer. That and her small terror radius and slow speed could spell trouble for her. However, her speed and size aren't much of a problem once the survivors enter her winter winds. Survivors within the Frozen's terror radius suffer from the hindered status effect, and progress on generators and healing is slowed by 20%. When the Frozen is within 20 meters of a survivor, the hindered status effect is increased to 15%. When the Frozen is within 10 meters of a survivor, the hindered status effect is increased to 20% and the survivor suffers from exhaustion. Survivors who leave the Frozen's terror radius suffer from the hindered status effect for 15 seconds. The Frozen's second ability is called Whiteout. You start the game with 5 tokens. Whenever you can interact with a standing pallet or a window vault, you may use the active ability button to freeze a pallet in place or close the window with a pane of ice. Pallets and windows frozen this way cannot be interacted with. Survivors can channel the left control button for 5 seconds to break the ice and make the pallet or window available for use again. Survivors who break the ice suffer from the hindered status effect for 15 seconds. Whenever the ice is broken this way, the Frozen is alerted and receives a token back for Whiteout. That will do it for the Frozen's power. You may have noticed that she has some interesting effects going on for her in the chase. Slowing down survivors' ability to work on generators or heal, and hitting them with hindered just for being in her terror radius makes her an immediate threat. But the hindered status effect and its increasing debuff the closer she gets is what can make chases with the Frozen short. And her ability to force the use of an exhaustion perk, or lose it once she gets too close, cannot be understated. Whiteout also allows for the Frozen to lock down pallets and windows, especially around certain notorious infinites. While survivors can break the ice that stops them from using these things, it takes time, and slows them down both literally and figuratively. But, now that we know about the Frozen's powers, let's take a look at her perks. The Frozen's first perk is called Hindrance. Others work to tap into the power they need, while you know that you can use that power to your advantage. Whenever a generator is completed, all survivors suffer from the hindered status effect for 15 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 40, 30, or 20 seconds. The Frozen's second perk is called No Good Deed. No good deed goes unpunished, and you have worked to make sure that this stays true. At the start of the trial, 1, 2, or 3 hooks are highlighted in white. Whenever a survivor unhooks another survivor from one of these hooks, they are put into the injured state. If they're already injured, they suffer from the mangled status effect for 60 seconds. The Frozen's third perk is called Contagious Fear. Your ability to spread fear has led to those even hearing about your presence quake in terror. Whenever you end a chase with a survivor, they gain a token. Whenever they come within 5 meters of a survivor that isn't hooked, or hasn't been on a hook for 10 seconds, they lose the token and the other survivor screams, revealing their location for 3 seconds. And those are the Frozen's perks. I think they affect the game in a multitude of different ways, and will require new solutions on the part of the survivors. Hindrance not only punishes survivors for completing a generator by slowing down their escape from the area, but can punish gen rushing by slowing them down in quick successive bursts with multiple generators getting completed one after another. Combine it with thrilling tremors to guarantee the slowdowns, or even tinker to know when you're about to have some slow survivors on the field, and hindrance will do great things for you. No good deed is a contingent opposite of borrowed time. Hook the survivors on the right hooks, and watch as they panic when 2 of them are now injured, or 1 is at least now mangled. Combined with furtive chase, this could get you some very quick tokens built up by making your obsession that much easier to bring down. Contagious Fear is an excellent perk to grab some needed information. Because there's no timer, survivors will keep their token until they come across another survivor, then mark that survivor for you to hunt down. This is an excellent companion to play with your food, or for killers like Legion and Plague, whose powers sort of require you to let the survivors get away for maximum efficiency. But that will take care of the Frozen's perks. Now let's turn our attention to this episode's survivor, Daria Parkins. Daria was never the most popular of people. In fact, she had no friends and a family life that was the envy of no one. At least that's what she thought. In reality, Daria's family life was ideal, and there were kids at her school that liked her a great deal. But that's the thing about depression. It doesn't let you see the good while it focuses on the bad. Her time in school was spent trying to not get in anyone's way, and her first year of college was pretty much the same. With her schoolwork and her job keeping her busy, Daria didn't have much time to relax, and the stress of her life built up, causing her depression to take root even further. Her job suffered because she was somehow always able to find a way to take the blame for mistakes. Her schoolwork slacked because she never thought she was smart enough to accomplish her goals. One night, she was ready to end it all with a bottle of pills. But a voice stopped her. What if she could make a difference somewhere? What if there was a place where everything she did mattered? What if the only way she could be blamed for something was if it was actually her fault? Wouldn't this be better? Daria thought so. She put down the bottle of pills and climbed into bed. She was surprised when she awoke beside a campfire, with others asking her if she were alright. So now we know how Daria came into the realm of the entity, but what perks did she bring to help out her fellow survivors? Daria's first perk is called Tough It Out. Life is hard, and you've learned to take advantage of it whenever something somehow manages to go your way. Whenever you wiggle out of the killer's grasp, or the killer is stunned or blinded and is forced to drop you, you gain the Endurance status effect for 15 seconds. If you were hit while Endurance is active, you gain the Deep Wound status effect. You have 10, 15, or 20 seconds to mend yourself. Daria's second perk is called Beating Yourself Up. You accept the blame when you or others screw up, but you're determined to make up for it later on. Whenever you or another survivor within 5 meters of you fails a skill check, you gain a token up to a maximum of 1, 2, or 3 tokens. Whenever you enter a chase, a token is used and you gain a 50% burst of speed for 2 seconds. Whenever one of your speed bursts ends, you automatically use up another one until you have no other tokens left. Daria's third perk is called Mood Swing. You can be a beacon of positivity one moment and a secluded pit of depression the next. But you're used to it and know what to do when the mood comes on. You start the trial with the Haste status effect. 30 seconds after the start of the trial, you lose haste and gain the Oblivious status effect. Every 10, 20, or 30 seconds during the trial, you swap between the haste and Oblivious status effects. And those are Daria's perks. Not only do I think she brings some intriguing possibilities to the game, but they're all designed around the ups and downs of having depression. I did this on purpose, hoping that these perks would help to illustrate what it's like for those who don't know. Tough It Out is like a borrowed time for the killer's grasp instead of the hook, and represents having to take the help offered to you and use it to push yourself further. Combine it with Sprint Burst, and you can be out of the killer's reach even if they decide to tunnel you. Beating yourself up is an all or nothing perk. You may get the max tokens, you may get none, but what you do get is the chance to run, and to run fast whenever the killer starts to chase you without the fear of exhaustion. And since it will burn all the tokens you have when you get into a chase, this means you have a chance of gaining a 50% speed bonus for 6 seconds without exhaustion. That's pretty massive. It was designed to represent the desire to run from all the problems that come with taking the blame upon yourself when the consequences come calling. Mood Swing is a perk that can seriously alter your playstyle, giving you some excellent map traversal ability, but also some serious perception issues when you're trying to stay hidden from the killer. Players who can master the status effect swaps will be pretty formidable. I think its design and inspiration is pretty understandable, without an explanation. But that will do it for Daria's perks and this episode of KillerCreation. I hope you all found the Frozen to be a fun killer that you guys would like to play as, and that you like Daria and all the perks she brings to take advantage of all the bad things that can happen during a trial. Thank you all for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel for future content. If you didn't, give it a dislike and let me know why in the comments. I hope you all have a great day. And as always, stay positive.